A lot of news, and joining us to discuss all of it is Professor Kobi Michael of the Misgav Institute. Thank you for joining, Kobi.
Thank you for having me.
Kobi, 20 living hostages have been thankfully released. The release of the living hostages brought relief and a lot of joy, but only a handful of the bodies have been returned so far, with many still missing. What challenges is Israel facing in bringing them home? What do you foresee will happen on this front?
I assume that unfortunately we will not be able to reach to all of the dead hostages, to all of the bodies that were buried in the Gaza Strip, because people who buried them are not with us anymore. They were killed by the IDF, and all the geography, the terrain of the Gaza Strip has been changed dramatically, and there might be some severe difficulties to allocate all the bodies. But on the other hand, there is no doubt that Hamas holds not few of them. Hamas itself admitted that they have an access to something like 15 bodies. So the idea that we got only 7 until now is something that indicates about Hamas intentions, about Hamas behavior, and about Hamas attitude, and about the idea that Hamas will find any opportunity and will use any opportunity in order to manipulate, in order to create the psychological pressure, in order to torture the nerves of the Israeli society and the families. This is Hamas. This is what Hamas was. This is what Hamas is. And I assume that this is what Hamas will be in the future.
How do you think that Israel should hold Hamas accountable for the bodies that are still unrecovered? What will Israel do if they're not accounted for?
I think that Israel has a very good intelligence with regard to the capacities of Hamas, with regard to the bodies which Hamas has an access to. And as long as we have this intelligence, I assume that Hamas will be continued pressured by the mediators and by Israel, that is able to use some leverages against Hamas. But at the end of the day, I think that Israel will know, based on its intelligence, what is the edge. I mean, if Hamas is not capable anymore, sincerely, to have an access or to reach to bodies.
Now, with the living hostages returned, does this mark the end of the war, as has been announced everywhere? Or is it merely phase one? Like, what needs to happen next?
We are still in phase one, and phase two and phase three are much more complicated. Phase two is concentrated on the idea of disarming Hamas and demilitarizing the Gaza Strip. I'm really skeptical about the idea that Hamas will cooperate with these efforts in order to realize this phase. It doesn't look that Hamas is in this direction, but on the contrary, Hamas does all its efforts in order to reconstitute itself in the Gaza Strip, in all the areas that the IDF withdrew from. And we saw all the executions, the public executions in the streets there. And we saw that Hamas is capable to recruit many thousands of militants. And the way that Hamas behaves until now does not indicate that Hamas intends to make a step forward towards the realization, the implementation of phase two and phase three. And in this regard, I think that we are going to face a very challenging problem.
Kobi Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.